Shaving makes hair grow back thicker. Everyone knows that shaving makes hair grow back thicker and darker. This is why men's facial hair gets coarser over time. This is why women are warned not to shave certain areas, because the hair will come back worse. This is common knowledge, confirmed by millions of people's personal experience. It's completely backwards. Shaving has zero effect on hair thickness, color, or growth rate. Hair grows from follicles beneath the skin. The follicle determines hair thickness, color, and growth rate. Shaving cuts the hair at the surface level. It never touches the follicle. Cutting the visible part of the hair cannot possibly affect the follicle producing it. Just like cutting the tip of a plant's leaf doesn't change the root. The belief persists because of a simple optical illusion. When hair grows naturally, it tapers to a fine point at the end. This tapered end is soft and light-colored because it's been exposed to sun and weathering. When you shave, you cut off the tapered end, leaving a blunt edge. As the hair grows back, you're seeing the thicker part of the hair shaft, not because it's actually thicker, but because you're seeing the cross-section instead of the tapered point. It's like the difference between looking at a pencil, point first, versus looking at a pencil that's been cut with scissors. The cut pencil looks thicker, but the pencil itself hasn't changed. The hair also appears darker because the blunt end hasn't been exposed to sun and weathering yet. The natural tip of hair gets lighter over time from UV exposure. The freshly cut end is the original color, which seems darker by comparison. Multiple scientific studies have confirmed this. Researchers have measured hair thickness, color, and growth rate before and after shaving. No study has ever found any change. The measurements are identical before and after. In one famous study from 1928, researchers shaved half of participants' faces daily, while leaving the other half unshaved. They measured hair thickness and growth rate on both sides over months. No difference was found. The shaved side and unshaved side produced identical hair. Modern studies using microscopes and precise measuring tools have confirmed these results. Hair diameter doesn't change. Growth rate doesn't change. Color at the follicle level doesn't change. Shaving affects only the appearance of the cut end, not the actual hair properties. But millions of people insist from personal experience that shaving makes hair thicker. What they're experiencing is puberty and aging. Young people start shaving around the same time their hormones are changing hair growth patterns. Boys shave when testosterone is increasing facial hair thickness naturally. The hair was going to get thicker whether they shaved or not. Shaving just coincided with natural development. The backwards belief causes real problems. Women avoid shaving certain areas because they fear making hair worse, leading them to use more painful and expensive hair removal methods unnecessarily. Parents warn children about shaving consequences that don't exist. People make grooming decisions based on a false understanding of how hair works. The truth is backwards. Shaving does nothing to hair growth. Hair properties are determined by follicles beneath the skin, which shaving never reaches. The apparent thickening is an optical illusion from seeing blunt cut ends instead of tapered natural ends. Reading in dim light damages your eyes. Everyone knows you shouldn't read in dim light because it damages your eyes. Parents tell children to turn on lights when reading. Teachers warn about eye strain. Doctors supposedly confirm that poor lighting causes vision problems. It's established medical wisdom. It's backwards. Reading in dim light does not damage your eyes or cause long-term vision problems. Your eyes can get tired from reading in dim light, just like your legs can get tired from walking. But tired eyes, like tired legs, recover with rest. There's no permanent damage. No study has ever found that reading in dim light causes lasting vision deterioration. The eye's lens and focusing muscles work harder in dim light, which can cause temporary eye fatigue. You might get headaches. Your eyes might feel strained. These are temporary discomforts, not damage. Once you rest your eyes or improve the lighting, the symptoms disappear completely. Ophthalmologists are clear about this. Reading in dim light cannot damage eye structure or cause vision loss. Dr. Jim Sheedy, director of the Vision Performance Institute at Pacific University, states explicitly that no evidence supports the idea that dim light harms eyes. The backwards belief likely comes from confusing correlation with causation. People who read extensively sometimes develop myopia, nearsightedness. People who read extensively also often read in whatever lighting is available, including dim light, but the reading causes the myopia, not the lighting conditions. Recent research suggests that lack of outdoor light exposure during childhood may contribute to myopia, but this is about not spending enough time outdoors in bright light, not about reading in dim indoor light being actively harmful. The issue is insufficient bright light exposure during development, not damage from dim light. Animal studies have shown that constant dim light exposure during development might affect eye growth, but this is completely different from humans reading in dim light for a few hours. The animal studies involved keeping young animals in twilight conditions 24/7 during critical development periods, not remotely comparable to a child reading a book in a somewhat dim room. The persistence of this belief causes unnecessary worry and behavior changes. Parents stress about lighting conditions that don't matter. People avoid reading in comfortable, slightly dim environments that would be fine. Money gets spent on lighting solutions addressing a non-existent problem. What actually matters for eye health? Genetics primarily determines vision quality. Eye diseases and injuries cause vision problems. Extended close-up work, reading, screens, may contribute to myopia development regardless of lighting, but the lighting itself doesn't damage anything. Reading in bright light is more comfortable and reduces eye fatigue, making it easier to read for longer periods. But reading in dim light isn't harmful, it's just less comfortable. The discomfort is your eyes telling you to adjust conditions or take a break, not a warning of damage. The truth is backwards. Dim light doesn't damage eyes, it just makes them work harder temporarily, causing fatigue that resolves with rest. The warning against dim light is about comfort, not health. Vikings wore horned helmets. Everyone knows Vikings wore horned helmets. Every illustration, Halloween costume, and cartoon shows Vikings with horns on their helmets. It's the defining visual element of Viking culture. The horned helmet is synonymous with Vikings. It's completely backwards. Vikings never wore horned helmets in battle. Not a single horned helmet has ever been found in Viking archaeological sites. We have extensive archaeological evidence of Viking military equipment. Hundreds of Viking graves have been excavated. Viking helmets have been found and preserved. None of them have horns. The actual Viking helmets were simple, practical, rounded metal caps, similar to other medieval European helmets. They protected the head without adding unnecessary weight or providing handholds for enemies to grab. Horns on a helmet would be tactically stupid. They add weight, unbalance the helmet, and give opponents something to grab and twist during combat. A few ceremonial helmets with horns or wings have been found in Scandinavia, but they date from the Bronze Age, over 1,000 years before the Viking Age. These were ritual objects, not combat equipment. They were never used in battle and have no connection to Vikings. So, where did the horned helmet myth come from? It was invented in the 1800s by romantic artists and opera designers who wanted Vikings to look more dramatic and barbaric. The most famous culprit was the costume designer for Wagner's opera cycle, Der Ring des Nibelungen, the Ring of the Nibelung, first performed in 1876. The designer created elaborate horned helmets for the Viking characters to make them look more impressive on stage. The operas were massively popular and widely reproduced in illustrations and posters. The horned helmet became the standard visual shorthand for Vikings, appearing in paintings, children's books, and eventually movies and cartoons. By the time of the 20th century, the horned helmet was so entrenched in popular culture that it overwrote historical reality in public consciousness. Everyone knew Vikings wore horned helmets because every depiction showed them that way, despite zero historical or archaeological evidence. Modern Viking reenactors and historians have fought against this myth for decades. Archaeological museums display actual Viking helmets, simple, hornless designs. Historical societies explain repeatedly that horns on helmets are fantasy. But the myth persists because the visual is so iconic. The backwards belief affects how we understand Viking culture. The horned helmet myth makes Vikings seem like primitive barbarians rather than the sophisticated traders, explorers, and craftsmen they actually were. It reduces a complex culture to a caricature based on 19th century theatrical costume design. The truth is backwards. Vikings never wore horns. The horned helmet is a 19th century invention that has nothing to do with actual Viking history or equipment. Every image of a horned Viking helmet is depicting fantasy, not reality. Goldfish have 3-second memories. Everyone knows goldfish have 3-second memories. They swim around their bowls, forgetting everything constantly. They can't learn anything. They're basically living decorations with no cognitive ability. This is why keeping goldfish in small bowls is acceptable. They forget their environment immediately anyway. It's entirely backwards. Goldfish have memories lasting months and can be trained to perform complex tasks. Goldfish can remember feeding schedules, recognize individual humans, navigate mazes, and learn to associate sounds with feeding times. Their memory demonstrably lasts far longer than 3 seconds. Studies show memory retention for at least 3 months, possibly much longer. Scientists have trained goldfish to push levers for food rewards, navigate complex tank layouts, and even play simplified versions of soccer. These behaviors require memory and learning, impossible with 3-second memory spans. In one famous experiment, goldfish were trained to push a lever at specific times of day to receive food. They learned the schedule and pushed the lever at the correct times. In another study, goldfish learned to escape a maze and remembered the solution for weeks afterward. Goldfish can distinguish between different human faces and react differently to people who feed them versus strangers. This requires visual memory and recognition. Again, impossible with 3-second memory. More impressively, goldfish can be taught to navigate obstacle courses and remember the paths for months. When placed in the same course months later, they navigate it successfully, proving long-term memory retention. Where did the 3-second memory myth come from? It appears to be based on nothing except the observation that goldfish don't react to their environment the way people expect. Goldfish swimming in circles are assumed to be rediscovering their environment every 3 seconds, but they're just swimming. Fish swim. It's what they do. They're not forgetting their environment. They're navigating it. The myth is also convenient for people who keep goldfish in inadequate conditions. If goldfish don't remember anything, keeping them in tiny bowls seems acceptable. They're not suffering because they don't remember they're in a cramped space. This is psychological justification, not biological fact. The backwards belief has animal welfare implications. Goldfish are kept in conditions that would be recognized as cruel for any other pet. Tiny bowls, no enrichment, minimal space, partly because of the mistaken belief that they lack memory and cognition. Goldfish actually need larger tanks, environmental enrichment, and social interaction, just like other pets. Modern research shows goldfish are considerably more intelligent than previously thought. They have social hierarchies, individual personalities, and can learn from other goldfish. They experience stress from poor environments and benefit from enriched habitats. The truth is backwards. Goldfish have robust memories lasting months, can learn complex tasks, and have cognitive abilities far beyond the 3-second memory myth. The myth persists as an excuse for poor fish husbandry, not as actual biology. Following your passion leads to success. Everyone knows you should follow your passion to be successful. Do what you love, and you'll never work a day in your life. Find your passion, pursue it, and success will follow. This is the advice given to graduates, career changers, and anyone seeking fulfillment. Passion first, success follows. It's backwards. Success leads to passion, not the other way around. You develop passion for things you're good at, not become good at things you're passionate about. The follow your passion advice assumes passion exists independent of skill and results. But research on career satisfaction shows that passion develops from mastery and achievement. People become passionate about activities where they experience competence and success. Cal Newport, in his book, So Good They Can't Ignore You, analyzed numerous career trajectories and found that passion follows skill development, not vice versa. People don't discover their passion and then become successful. They become skilled at something, succeed at it, then develop passion for it because success is rewarding. The backwards causation is clear when examining successful people's career histories. Most successful people didn't start with burning passion for their field. Steve Jobs didn't have a childhood passion for computing. He stumbled into it because of proximity to Silicon Valley and developed passion as he became skilled. Many successful scientists, artists, and entrepreneurs develop passion for their fields after initial success, not before. The research on motivation and satisfaction supports this. Self-determination theory identifies three factors driving satisfaction: autonomy, control over your work; competence, being good at it; and relatedness, connecting with others. Passion follows from achieving these conditions, particularly competence. You become passionate about things you're good at because competence is inherently rewarding. Following pre-existing passion is often counterproductive. First, most people don't have clear pre-existing passions for viable careers. Asking a young person, "What are you passionate about?" often produces answers like music or travel, interests, not career paths. Trying to build careers directly from these passions usually fails because the person lacks the skills and market opportunities. Second, passion alone doesn't create value. The market pays for skills that solve problems, not for passion. Being passionate about painting doesn't make you a successful artist. Skill and market demand do. Passion without competence leads to frustration, not success. Third, passion fluctuates. What you're passionate about at 18 is likely different from what you'll care about at 30. Building a career on passion means your career becomes unstable as interests shift. Building a career on developing rare and valuable skills creates stable success that can sustain passion over time. The backwards advice causes real damage. Young people waste years pursuing passions without developing marketable skills. They enter fields they love but can't succeed in, then burn out and become bitter. They would have been better off developing skills in fields with opportunities, building competence, and allowing passion to develop from mastery. The follow your passion myth also creates guilt. People who aren't passionate about their work feel like failures. Even if they're successful and satisfied, they are told they should be passionate, so they think something is wrong with them. This is backwards. Most satisfying careers come from getting good at something valuable, not from discovering magical passion. The truth is backwards. You don't follow passion to success. You develop passion from success. Competence and achievement create passion. The correct advice is develop valuable skills, achieve competence, and passion will follow. Venting anger makes you feel better. Everyone knows that when you're angry, you should vent your feelings. Yell, hit a pillow, express your rage. Let it out. Bottling up anger is unhealthy. It builds up like pressure until you explode. Venting releases the pressure and makes you feel better. Therapists recommend expressing anger. It's cathartic. It's backwards. Venting anger makes you angrier, not calmer. The more you express anger, the more anger you generate. The catharsis theory of emotion, the idea that expressing negative emotions releases them, is intuitively appealing, but scientifically wrong. Decades of research show that venting anger increases anger, doesn't decrease it. Brad Bushman, a psychologist at Ohio State, conducted numerous studies on anger and catharsis. In one study, participants were insulted, then half were told to hit a punching bag while thinking about the person who insulted them, venting, while the other half sat quietly. Afterward, both groups had opportunities to retaliate against the insulter. The venting group was significantly more aggressive. They were angrier, not calmer. Hitting the punching bag didn't release anger. It reinforced it. The group that sat quietly without venting was less angry afterward. Multiple studies have replicated this finding. Venting anger through yelling, hitting objects, or aggressive expression increases angry feelings and makes people more likely to act aggressively later. The act of expressing anger rehearses the anger, strengthening the neural pathways associated with angry responses. This happens because emotions aren't hydraulic. They don't build up like water behind a dam, requiring release. Emotions are constructed by your brain based on patterns of thought and behavior. When you practice angry behaviors, yelling, hitting, aggressive gestures, you're training your brain to generate more anger. You're creating and reinforcing angry response patterns. The backwards belief comes from confusing temporary excitement with actual anger reduction. Venting produces physiological arousal, increased heart rate, adrenaline, etc. This feels different from the initial anger, so people interpret it as release. But this arousal doesn't reduce anger, it often increases it. The person feels energized and still angry, ready to act on that anger. What actually reduces anger? Distraction, cognitive reappraisal, and calm reflection. When you distract yourself from anger triggers, anger decreases. When you reinterpret the situation, maybe they didn't mean it that way, maybe I'm overreacting. Anger decreases. When you sit quietly and let physiological arousal subside, anger decreases. Studies show that taking a break, going for a walk, or engaging in calming activities reduces anger more effectively than venting. Deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, and meditation all outperform venting for anger management. The backwards, vent your anger advice causes real problems. People who believe in catharsis express anger more frequently, training themselves to be angrier people. They practice angry responses until those responses become habitual. They create feedback loops where expressing anger generates more situations requiring anger expression. Relationships suffer particularly from venting. Yelling at your partner to express your feelings damages the relationship and makes you angrier at them, not calmer. The expression of anger harms connection and trust. Partners who express anger freely report less relationship satisfaction than those who manage anger constructively. Even therapists who recommend anger expression have moved away from traditional catharsis techniques. Modern anger management focuses on cognitive reappraisal, relaxation techniques, and behavioral modification, not venting. Hitting pillows, yelling, or aggressive expression are no longer recommended practices. The truth is backwards. Venting anger increases anger rather than reducing it. Expressing anger rehearses and reinforces angry patterns. Calm reflection and distraction reduce anger more effectively than catharsis. Multitasking is efficient. Everyone knows that multitasking lets you accomplish more in less time. Doing multiple things simultaneously increases productivity. This is why people check email while on calls, text while watching TV, and listen to podcasts while working. The ability to multitask is a valuable skill. You get more done. It's backwards. Multitasking dramatically reduces efficiency and increases errors. You accomplish less when multitasking, not more. What people call multitasking is actually rapid task switching. The brain can't genuinely perform two cognitively demanding tasks simultaneously. It switches between them quickly. Each switch has a cognitive cost called switch cost, the time and mental resources required to change tasks. Research shows that switch costs are substantial. When switching between tasks, there's a brief period where your brain is doing neither task well. It's disengaging from task A, reorienting to task B, and loading task B's context. This happens every single switch. If you're switching constantly, you're spending a significant portion of time in this inefficient transition state. Studies measuring productivity during multitasking versus focused work consistently show that focused work produces better results faster. People who multitask take longer to complete tasks and make more errors than people who do tasks sequentially. In one famous study, researchers had people complete tasks while either multitasking or working on tasks sequentially. The multitasking group took 40% longer and made twice as many errors. They felt busier and more productive, but objective measures showed they accomplished less with lower quality. The subjective feeling of productivity during multitasking is an illusion. Task switching creates mental busyness and arousal, which feels like productivity. You're doing things, switching between activities, staying engaged. This feels efficient, but the objective output is worse than focused work. Some activities can be combined successfully, but only when one is genuinely automatic and requires no conscious attention. You can walk and talk because walking is automatic for adults. You can listen to music while doing physical tasks because the music requires minimal cognitive resources. But trying to write emails while on a conference call, both cognitively demanding tasks, results in poor performance on both. The backwards belief has become embedded in modern work culture. Job postings praise multitasking ability as a skill. Employees pride themselves on handling multiple things at once. Meetings continue while participants answer emails. Conference calls happen while people work on other projects. All of this reduces actual productivity while creating the illusion of efficiency. Research on workplace multitasking shows that employees who frequently multitask report feeling productive but produce lower quality work with more errors. They take longer to complete projects. They have more difficulty with complex problem solving. They're less creative. The constant task switching prevents deep thinking and careful work. The costs extend beyond productivity. Multitasking increases stress, reduces memory formation, and decreases learning retention. When you're switching between tasks constantly, you don't encode information deeply, so you remember less. Students who multitask while studying perform worse on tests than students who study with focus. Driving while using phones is the deadliest example. People believe they can text and drive safely, but research shows that texting while driving produces reaction times worse than drunk driving. Your brain can't process driving conditions and text messages simultaneously. It switches between them, creating gaps in attention where accidents occur. The truth is backwards. Multitasking reduces productivity, increases errors, and lowers quality. Single tasking, focusing on one thing at a time, produces better work faster with fewer mistakes. The feeling of productivity from multitasking is an illusion masking reduced actual performance. You need motivation to take action. Everyone knows you need to feel motivated before taking action. You wait until you feel ready, inspired, or motivated, then you act. Motivation comes first, action follows. This is why we procrastinate. We don't feel motivated yet. Once motivation strikes, we'll act. Motivation drives action. It's backwards. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. You don't wait for motivation. You act, and motivation follows from the action. Motivation is not a prerequisite for action. Motivation is a result of action. The psychological research on motivation shows that feelings of motivation arise after you start acting, not before. The act of beginning generates momentum and positive feelings that we interpret as motivation. This is called the action, motivation, more action cycle. You start acting, even without feeling motivated. The action generates small wins and positive feedback. These create feelings of motivation and momentum, which drive further action. But the cycle begins with action, not motivation. Jeff Hayden, author and business writer, explains it clearly. Professional athletes, successful artists, and productive business people don't wait for motivation. They have routines and schedules. They work regardless of how they feel. The work generates motivation, which makes continued work easier. But they never wait to feel motivated first. Research on habit formation supports this. People who wait for motivation to exercise rarely maintain fitness routines. People who exercise on schedule regardless of motivation develop sustainable habits. The scheduled action comes first. Motivation develops from seeing results, and the habit becomes self-sustaining. The backwards belief causes massive procrastination. People wait to feel motivated before starting projects. They never feel sufficiently motivated, so they never start. Or they start, don't feel motivated partway through, and stop. They're waiting for motivation that only comes from sustained action. Writers who wait for inspiration rarely write books. Writers who write daily, regardless of inspiration, complete projects. And many of those daily writing sessions feel inspired once they begin. The inspiration comes from writing, not before writing. The same pattern applies to any creative or productive work. Artists who wait to feel creative produce less than artists who create on schedule. Entrepreneurs who wait to feel ready before launching rarely launch. Athletes who wait to feel energetic before training never maintain conditioning. The backwards causation creates a vicious cycle. You don't feel motivated, so you don't act. Not acting prevents you from generating motivation through small wins. You continue not feeling motivated. Time passes, and you accomplish nothing, which further reduces motivation. Waiting for motivation guarantees you won't find it. The correct approach? Take the smallest possible action without waiting for motivation. Write one sentence, do one push-up, make one sales call, send one email. The tiny action breaks the inertia. Once started, continuing becomes easier. Motivation builds from small accumulated actions. Research on temptation bundling and habit stacking shows that linking desired behaviors to existing routines creates sustainable action without requiring motivation. You don't need to feel motivated to brush your teeth. It's routine. By linking new behaviors to established routines, you create action that doesn't depend on motivation. The truth is backwards. You don't need motivation to act. You act first, even without motivation, and motivation develops from the action. Waiting for motivation ensures you'll never feel motivated enough. Small actions create momentum that generates motivation. Lightning never strikes the same place twice. Everyone knows lightning never strikes the same place twice. This is a common saying, accepted as obvious truth. It's used metaphorically. Rare events don't repeat. If something unlucky happened to you, it won't happen again. Lightning is random, so the chance of it hitting the same spot twice is infinitesimal. It's completely backwards. Lightning frequently strikes the same place repeatedly. Some locations get struck hundreds of times per year. Lightning isn't random. It follows the path of least resistance from clouds to ground. Tall objects, particularly metal structures, provide excellent conduction paths. These objects get struck by lightning far more frequently than surrounding areas. The Empire State Building is struck by lightning about 25 times per year on average, sometimes 100 plus times in particularly stormy years. The building has been struck multiple times during single storms. It's specifically designed to handle repeated lightning strikes because they're inevitable. Skyscrapers, radio towers, and mountaintops get struck repeatedly. Park Ranger Roy Sullivan was struck by lightning 7 times during his career in Shenandoah National Park. He survived all 7 strikes, though with injuries. This happened because he worked outdoors in an area with frequent thunderstorms and often stood near tall objects. The backwards belief likely comes from the extreme rarity of witnessing a lightning strike at all. Most people never see lightning hit something specific, so seeing lightning hit the same object twice seems impossibly unlikely. But this confuses personal observation with actual probability. Lightning strikes happen millions of times per year globally. Tall structures in storm-prone areas get hit routinely. Lightning rods exist specifically because lightning does strike the same places repeatedly. The rods protect buildings by providing a safe conduction path for the inevitable repeated strikes. The meteorological reasons are simple. Lightning seeks the path of least resistance to ground. A tall metal structure is an excellent path. Once conditions favor a strike to that structure, thunderstorm overhead, electrical charge buildup, those same conditions can repeat immediately, causing multiple strikes in quick succession. Videos of lightning storms show this clearly. Lightning often strikes the same tall building multiple times, within seconds during severe storms. The building isn't randomly targeted repeatedly. It's the most conductive path available, so every discharge finds it. The backwards saying causes misunderstandings about lightning safety. People think if an area was just struck by lightning, it's safe now, because lightning won't strike the same place twice. This is dangerously wrong. An area that was just struck is demonstrating that it's a preferential lightning path, making it more likely to be struck again, not less. Lightning safety advice explicitly warns against sheltering near recently struck objects. If lightning hit a tree, don't hide under that tree thinking it's safe now. The tree just proved it's a lightning magnet. The metaphorical use of the saying is equally backwards. Rare events that happen once can happen again, often for the same reasons. People who win the lottery once sometimes win again. Not because they're lucky, but because they're persistent lottery players. Disasters that strike one area often strike the same area again, because the underlying risk factors remain. The truth is backwards. Lightning strikes the same places frequently. Tall structures in storm-prone areas get struck dozens or hundreds of times. The saying should be, lightning often strikes the same place repeatedly to accurately reflect reality. Success leads to happiness. Everyone knows that success leads to happiness. Once you achieve your goals, get the promotion, make the money, buy the house, reach the milestone, you'll be happy. Happiness is the reward for success. This is why we work toward goals. Achieving them will make us happy. Success first, happiness follows. It's backwards. Happiness leads to success, not the other way around. Happy people are more successful because happiness improves performance, creativity, and persistence. Research in positive psychology has thoroughly demolished the success happiness model. Sean Achor's research at Harvard showed that happiness precedes success across multiple domains. Happy people perform better at work, have more career success, build better relationships, and achieve goals more consistently than unhappy people pursuing success to become happy. The data is clear. Happiness improves job performance by 31%, sales by 37%, and productivity by 19%. Happy people get promoted more frequently and earn higher salaries over time. These outcomes occur because happiness creates success, not because success creates happiness. The causal mechanism is straightforward. Happy people have more energy, persistence, and creativity. They handle setbacks better. They build better relationships, which creates opportunities. Their positive affect makes them more attractive to employers and collaborators. All of this drives success. Meanwhile, unhappy people pursuing success to become happy often fail to achieve their goals because unhappiness undermines performance. When they do succeed, the happiness is temporary, a brief spike followed by return to baseline mood. Then they set new goals, believing the next achievement will finally bring lasting happiness. It doesn't. This is the hedonic treadmill. Achieving goals produces temporary happiness that fades quickly as you adapt to the new circumstances. The promotion feels great for weeks, then becomes normal. The new house is exciting briefly, then it's just where you live. Humans adapt to positive changes rapidly, returning to baseline happiness levels. Studies of lottery winners show this clearly. Winning millions produces a massive happiness spike that fades within a year. Long-term happiness levels return to approximately where they were before winning. Success, sudden wealth, didn't create lasting happiness. The same pattern appears in every domain. Olympic athletes report that winning gold medals produces less lasting happiness than expected. Business founders report that selling companies for millions doesn't create enduring happiness. Celebrities report that fame and success don't produce lasting satisfaction. Success provides temporary happiness spikes, not sustained increases. But the backwards belief persists because the temporary happiness spike after success feels real. You got promoted and felt happy. Clearly, success caused happiness. But correlation isn't causation. You were probably performing well, driven by existing happiness before the promotion. The promotion recognized existing success, then provided a brief happiness bump that faded. The backwards causation causes massive life problems. People sacrifice relationships, health, and present enjoyment, pursuing success they believe will make them happy. They delay happiness until achievement. I'll be happy when I get the degree, the job, the house, the income level. The achievements come, happiness doesn't. So they set new conditions. They never achieve lasting happiness because they have the causation backwards. Research shows that cultivating happiness first, through gratitude practices, social connection, exercise, meaningful activity, improves performance and increases the likelihood of success. Happy people succeed more easily and enjoy the success more when it arrives. The truth is backwards. Happiness creates success more than success creates happiness. Pursuing success to become happy is chasing an illusion. Cultivating happiness now improves present life and increases future success. 10 beliefs everyone accepts that are backwards. Shaving makes hair thicker. Backwards, it only changes the appearance of cut ends. Reading in dim light damages eyes. Backwards, it causes temporary fatigue, but no lasting harm. Vikings wore horned helmets. Backwards, they never did. It's a 19th century theatrical invention. Goldfish have 3-second memories. Backwards, they remember for months and can learn complex tasks. Following your passion leads to success. Backwards, success in developing valuable skills leads to passion. Venting anger makes you calmer. Backwards, it rehearses anger and makes you angrier. Multitasking is efficient. Backwards, it reduces productivity and increases errors. You need motivation to take action. Backwards, action creates motivation through momentum. Lightning never strikes the same place twice. Backwards, it hits tall structures repeatedly. Success leads to happiness. Backwards, happiness creates conditions for success. These aren't minor misconceptions. These are fundamental misunderstandings about causation that that affect decisions about careers, emotional regulation, productivity, and life satisfaction. What makes these beliefs backwards rather than simply wrong? They have the relationship reversed. Hair does appear thicker after shaving, but the cause is optical illusion, not actual growth. People do feel energized after venting, but they're experiencing arousal, not anger reduction. Successful people often are happy, but happiness drove the success, not vice versa. Backwards beliefs are particularly damaging because they cause people to try solutions that produce the opposite of desired outcomes. Pursuing passion without skills fails. Venting anger increases anger. Waiting for motivation guarantees you'll never feel motivated. Pursuing success to find happiness leaves you unhappy because you have the causation inverted. These beliefs persist because they're based on real observations misinterpreted. We see correlations and assume causation in the wrong direction. We trust intuition over evidence. We accept explanations that everyone knows without questioning whether the relationship might be backwards. The evidence is overwhelming. Shaving doesn't affect follicles. Dim light doesn't damage eyes. Vikings never wore horns. Goldfish aren't mindless. You don't follow passion to success. You develop passion from mastery. You don't vent to reduce anger. You manage it through cognitive strategies. You don't wait for motivation. You act first. You don't pursue success to find happiness. You cultivate happiness, which enables success. 10 things everyone believes that are actually backwards. 10 cases where common sense is completely wrong. 10 beliefs where accepting the opposite brings you closer to truth. Question: beliefs that everyone knows are true. Check whether relationships you observe might have reversed causation. Be willing to accept that fundamental assumptions might be inverted, because sometimes what everyone knows is exactly backwards.